Saxon Algebra 2, Lesson 87. Hey, you want to talk about lines? I do. Look, y equals mx plus b. Once upon a time, I had a student, and in Algebra 2, whenever I asked any kind of question, he would just, and asked students to answer, he would just say, y equals mx plus b. That was his answer for everything. Which, you know, if you have to guess something, that's not a bad thing to guess in an algebra class. What do we know about this? We know that this b thing is called the Y-intercept, right? And this is the place where our line is going to cross the y-axis. And when we graph it, we know that's the first place to start. What's this thing? This, you know, is called the slope. And it can be a positive slope, in which case we measure the top number as the rise. We count it by going up. The bottom number is the run, and it measures a distance going to the right. If we start by graphing the y-intercept, and then from the y-intercept, count up and over, then we'll get a second point, and then we can connect the dots. If the slope is a negative number, we don't go up. We go down, but the bottom number is still to the right. And again, these two are the treasure maps that we use going from the y-intercept to the second point, and then we draw a line connecting them. The slope is always a fraction. If it doesn't come as a fraction, we turn it into 1. And that's how we get two numbers out of it, right? Okay, so that's what we know about graphing, and we can do a lot of damage, right? If we have some of this information, we can graph things. But we're going to get a new tool that is very helpful in doing this. We're going to say, what happens if we're given 2 points? And I'm going to give them these weird, awkward names just because it's math and I have to do this from time to time. That's a little comma in between them. The first pair of points we're going to call x1 and y1. The second pair of points we're going to call x2 and y2. We're told that these 2 points lie on the same line, and we want to find the slope of the line that connects them. Here is a formula we can use to do that. Okay, this is called slope formula, da, 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 da. And if we're given 2 pairs of points that both lie on the same line, we can use this formula to find the slope of the line. Here are my tips for using this formula. 1, and these will make more sense when we actually do some examples. Label your points. And 2, use buckets. You know me and my buckets, right? I'm telling you, I like buckets because they work. Again, I'm not trying to make more work for you. I'm trying to prevent errors so that you can get your math done successfully and move on with your life to some other things. So I will mention these again as we actually do the problems, but I want you to write that down with this so that you have all the information in one place. All right, we're going to do 2 examples, and then we will wash our hands of this lesson. 2 examples. Are you kidding me right now? It's going to be over before we know it, and I'm just sad. Example 87-1. Use the slope formula, oh, that's that m equals thing, to find the slope of the line that passes through, and then John gives us 2 points. So I'm going to write the 2 points down, and I highly recommend you write them down, just like I'm doing. Okay, you don't have to write all the words down, but those are the 2 points. So these 2 points are on the same line, and we want to know what the slope of that line is. Later, we'll talk about how you figure out the y-intercept too, but for now, we're just worrying about the slope. So here's what I do. I pick 1 pair of points and I say those are going to be my 1s, and I pick the other pair of points and I say those are going to be my 2s. It doesn't matter which is which. Good news, right? It doesn't matter if these are the ones or these are the ones. I usually just go in order with however they're written down and I label them. This is what I meant by label the points. 2 is x1, minus 5 is y1. x2 is minus 3, and y2 is 7. This is very helpful because when you look at the formula, which I'm going to write again right now, it seems so backwards, right? The y's are on top, but normally we think of the x's as coming first, and then we do the 2's before the 1's. It's just a crazy mess, right? I don't want to deal with a crazy mess. So by labeling the points, it makes it much easier to plug them in accurately. My other thing was use buckets. Whenever we have minus signs in the formula and minuses in the values, buckets are essential. So I set up something that looks like this. Again, if you would rather make mistakes and have to start over when you get the problem wrong, go ahead and leave the buckets out. But if you want to get this done as fast and as drama-free as possible, use buckets. Okay, now we carefully go through choosing each letter and then the value that goes in. So y2 is 7, y1 is minus 5, x2 is minus 3, and x1 is 2. See how we're just kind of all over the place with that? It's cuckoo. All right, simplifying isn't hard, but you have to be careful. Look, these two go together and make a plus. 7 plus 5 is 12 over minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5. And then to write this in the best form, we bring the minus sign out and float it 12 over 5. That is the way I would want to see the final answer. Oh, I would also want to see it m equals. So I'm just going to add that to my answer box. That's fine. Doing stuff like that, that's absolutely fine. If you forget to write it in, just squish it up at the top. Okay, ready? Let's try another one. It's example 87.2. And all we have is another pair of points. Minus 5, 100, and minus 33, 57. Now notice that the only thing that's different about these points is the numbers are just bigger and weirder, okay? But it's fine, it doesn't matter. We can still do the math on this. I've got my formula right here. I don't even have to write it over. Remember that in your homework, as long as you can see the formula on the page, or the pages, right? If you have your notebook open, I just show one page at a time. But if you have your notebook and you can see the full page spread, as long as you can see that formula on the page somewhere, you don't have to keep rewriting it with each problem. I do because you can't see it very well. All right, we're gonna use this. I'm going to label my points. And I told you that I usually just do 1s and then 2s, but just to prove to you that it doesn't need to be that way. Oh, P.S. Let me check and make sure that's the right answer. Yeah, that's the right answer. I'm gonna just mix it up and I'm gonna make these the 2s and the second one the 1s. Now, what you can't do is be like x2, y1, y2, or x2, y1. You know what I'm saying? You can't mix the 1s and 2s within the same pair. They have to match. And obviously, the first one has to be the x and the second one has to be the y. But what I just did here, calling the first pair the 2s, the second pair the 1s instead of the other way around, go for it. You can do it. Okay, ready? M equals. Making my buckets. And now I'm going to plug in and I'm going to work carefully from here and my numbers. Y2, 100. Minus Y1, 57. X2, minus 5. Minus X1, minus 33. Okay, now we simplify. 10 minus 57. I can do that in my head. It's 43. And now this one, woo, look at all the minus signs flying around. These two go together and make a plus. Remember, we're adding these as negatives, right? We're not doing any multiplication in this. So minus 5 plus 33 would be 28. And even though that looks like a disgusting and horrifying value for a slope, it's correct. And even though I wouldn't want to have to graph that, we don't have to graph it. All we have to do is calculate it and just do the numbers. So it's not a big deal if our slopes turn into big nasty fractions. Oh, look, I want to do this though again. Equals m. Now I'm happy. And, you know, that's what it's all about, right? If I'm happy, then obviously it's been a successful lesson. I hope you're happy too. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you love the fact that there's only 2 problems and we're already done. Thank you. Goodbye.